Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Friedman, joined in the studio by Tom Collins. Tom, the Director of Business Development for McGladrey. Tom, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Nice to have you here. Appreciate it. Know some of your colleagues and know the firm well. And tell our listeners, how big is McGladrey, both locally and nationally?
Yeah, that's one of the misnomers, at least locally. Nationally, we're the fifth largest accounting firm. You know, we like to think we're the largest focus on the middle market. And our Boston office has just about 600 people, about 50 partners, audit, tax, consulting. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, McGladrey bought Caterano and Company, one of the largest regional accounting firms. So that gave us a lot of size. And then we've grown rapidly over the last 4 or 5 years.
Interesting. I think, as you said, sort of a misnomer. People think that the firm is a lot smaller. 600 is a pretty sizable firm for the Boston market.
Yeah, it really is. We're almost the size of KPMG here in Boston, and we're probably 2x the size of our kind of middle market competitors here in town. So we're have a good reputation and a good bandwidth of professionals.
And how large is the firm nationally? Offices?
It's about 7,000 people. We have about 75 offices, in most of the major metropolitan markets.
And what is the range of services the McGladrey offices in the Boston market? I imagine it changes a little bit around the country.
Yeah, it does change. Well, we're a full-service firm in Boston. I think we might be the second or third largest firm. Chicago, New York, and Boston are really the biggest 3 offices. And in the Boston office, we have, tax, audit, and then consulting. The Caterano firm had absorbed a lot of the Anderson partners when Anderson had their troubles. So the consulting, we're not Bain, we're not McKinsey. It's IT technology-focused consulting. We probably have, maybe 250 in the assurance audit side, maybe 150 in the tax side, maybe 200 or so in the consulting side. So that's a very rapidly growing part of the business.
And what are some of the range of things that you're identifying within those firms? What are some of the hot buttons that you're seeing of late?
On the transactional advisory side, one of the main things we're seeing is a lot of the sellers are now hiring firms like ours to do a quality of earnings prior to going out to the marketplace. In Europe, that's standard procedure. Hire a banker, they bring an accounting firm in, they do a quality of earnings, and then they go to market. I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, it might have been 10% of the deals have buy side or sell side, quality of earnings. We're seeing probably about 30% of the firms, and we've done a couple deals recently. They're audited financial companies, portfolio companies of private equity firms, and they still want to do a quality of earnings prior to going out to market. It really balances. It solves a lot of questions up front. It does decrease the time to close and the uncertainty of someone coming in and finding something wrong with the numbers. The buyers are a lot more, the sellers are a lot more comfortable getting that all done up front.
Specifically, you talked about technology. I would imagine biotech is hot in this market space as well.
Yeah, biotech is, especially in the IPO markets. We've seen, our healthcare biotech practice in Boston has been very robust. We took a couple companies public in the last 12 months. We're doing a lot of work with companies, whether it's Sarbanes-Oxley readiness, IPO readiness, reviewing their IT infrastructure. So a lot of companies are, planning that, especially with the markets hot. It's, those windows sometimes can shrink very quickly.
And I would imagine that was work that probably was not there 2 and 3 years ago.
Exactly.
And it's really come back, and there seems. Do you see that as a trend? Moving out into 2015. Let's hope.
Let's hope. And I think the window is still open, and I think people are trying to get into that window. How long that window stays open, I wish I could have a crystal ball, but it does seem continues to be robust now. Talk
a little bit about financial and tax due diligence that buyers are doing, and some of the relevance of that, and things to pay attention to, if you will.
Sure. A lot of it is industry specific. On the software and IT companies, the revenue recognition is probably one of the most things that people are looking at. We're also seeing a lot of our private equity clients, as they're, bidding on companies, are bringing us in, kind of in a phase 1 approach to take a look at maybe the revenue issues, tax issues, as there might be down to the final 1 or 2 or 3 companies in the bidding process. They're bringing us in before they even sign a letter of intent to kind of kick the tires, go into the data room, and help them get comfortable with the numbers so they can make either, an enhanced bid or pull back their bid. So we're seeing a lot more activity asking us to come in before they actually sign a letter of intent.